After 3 months of ownership, I want to talk about all the legitimate issues with the PlayStation 5. Now, this list isn't going to be nitpicky things like, oh, cosmetically the PlayStation's ugly, or oh, the controller fits awkwardly in my hand, or oh, the fan's a little bit noisy in my entertainment center. These are going to be legitimate problems synonymous across the board, no matter who you are. It'd be pretty hard for you to argue. I mean, I'm sure it's possible. Internet trolls will find a way to clickety-clack on their keyboards and be like, well, actually, Kevin, that's not a big deal because blah, blah, blah. Anyway, great console, but it's not perfect. Let's get it. Alright boys, so jumping right into this list, that slot in the back for expandable storage is still firmware blocked. This console has been out for 6 months, and we are still limited to 825 gigabytes, but keep in mind 667 gigabytes is your actual usable storage. That's not a lot in an era where games are over 100 gigs easily, especially online games with a lot of DLC and map packs. Now granted, a lot of people that have new smart TVs, which you probably need because you need 120 hertz refresh rate, are probably going to have all their streaming applications like Netflix, HBO Max, Disney Plus, all that stuff on the TV, so you don't have to worry about any storage from that. But still, your PS4 and PS5 games, that'll run out pretty quickly. Now, the Xbox Series S and X launched with a Seagate 1TB expandable storage. Now, granted, it's like $220, which is freakishly expensive. That's more than 2/3 the price of the Series S, but they have that option. Not to mention you can use an external hard drive, which we just now recently, with the update that we got about 3.5 weeks ago, got that feature unlocked to where now you can actually play PS4 games from an external, and you can store PS5 games from an external, but you have to transfer them back to internal storage to play them. Still, we need that expandable storage. That is a legitimate concern. Next up is a lack of exclusive proprietary games for the new gen consoles. This applies to both the Series S and X and the PlayStation 5. It's even worse over there on Microsoft's side of the house because, well, they don't have any exclusives really. They have the Medium, which I do have. It is on Game Pass. I've been playing it. It's pretty good. But other than that, they have nothing. Granted, they do have Game Pass, which has a whole bunch of old games all the way back to the original Xbox, a lot of which, well, 94 of them, are boosted up with FPS boost, but still, we'd like some new experiences here, which kind of goes to show that these consoles could have waited. Rich at Review Tech says this all the time, Jay's 2 cents, I think Linus might have mentioned this a few times. These consoles should have dropped mid to late 21. That would have alleviated a lot of the issues that we're seeing, not only with supply with the silicon shortage, but also the fact that features that should have been available on launch, like the expandable storage, like a library of more exclusive games, it was just a big old sloppy half-assed launch. Next up is going to be the reliability or lack thereof with the PlayStation DualSense 5, which by the way is an awesome controller. It is a technological marvel, and I do not use that term lightly. However, there's already a class action lawsuit because there is a ton of stick drift in these bad boys. I personally haven't experienced any stick drift whatsoever, but there are hundreds, thousands of users of the PlayStation 5 that are already complaining of this, and the reason for that is they source their thumbstick modules from the same company that makes the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons, which are notoriously bad. They are the king, the undisputed king of stick drift. So why they decided to go with that company for their thumbstick modules, I don't know. Now, there has been zero reports about the Xbox Series S or X controller. By the way, we did customize both of these bad boys on the channel here, so if that kind of thing satisfies you or tickles you in the gamer nether regions, turn that red subscribe button gray so you catch the next time I do a custom controller build, which, spoiler alert, is right around the corner. But we haven't heard anything about the Xbox Series controllers. However, I know from disassembling that one to customize it, the thumbstick module looked virtually identical to what is on the Xbox One, and those also were susceptible to stick drift, so who knows. Next up, the Wi-Fi card on board the PS5 is bad. Legitimately bad. I'm going to give you guys a speed test on my PC, my Xbox Series, and my PlayStation 5. Now granted, you might just think, oh, Kevin, that's just you. Mine works just fine. And I'm not discrediting that it might work good for you, but it's not just me. I have read tons of forums. The Sony support page even has an article about their Wi-Fi not being fantastic. Now granted, this wouldn't even be an issue if I were to plug in via Ethernet. However, my modem, my router, my internet drop is in the game room, in the gamer heaven over there, which is where I have my PC, both my PCs hardwired. However, in the living room here, I have all my consoles connected via Wi-Fi. My Series S, my jailbroken Wii, and the PlayStation 5 over there. And I will show you that the $300 Series S is getting substantially higher down and up speeds consistently. And it gets to the point to where sometimes my PlayStation 5 will completely drop internet altogether. And then I go in my office, run an internet speed test. Oh, yep, still getting 1,000 down, 1,000 up. But anyway, get your spoon ready. I'm about to serve you guys some proof pudding real quick. Let's run an internet speed test. All right, 57.7 down and 31.3 megabytes up, which is acceptable, we can say that, but not when you have gigabyte Ethernet and every other device in your house is getting well over that. And that's usually about what I'm seeing on the Series S. 226 down, 127 up, which is not near my gigabyte speeds, but obviously I am connected via Wi-Fi, so I'm sure I would get higher speeds with Ethernet on both devices, I'm sure. All right, let's run a speed test on the R11 over here, which is connected via Ethernet to my Netgear Nighthawk XR500. All right, a little slower than usual, but still. All right, the next one would be lack of accessory or peripheral support. So obviously you can use a PlayStation 4 controller to browse the user interface, browse the menus, and also to play PS4 games. However, you are not able to play PlayStation 5 games with a PS4 controller, which does make sense because obviously you don't have the haptic feedback and adaptive triggers, which are used quite heavily in a lot of these games. And for example, like in Returnal, it's actually functional. Like you pull down the trigger halfway, and that's one of your fire modes. Pull it down all the way, that's a secondary fire mode. Plus some games use the built-in microphone, like with Astro's Playroom. You blow into the bottom of it, and it pushes your character across the screen, stuff like that. As with the Xbox Series S and X, you can use all of your headsets, all of your controllers over there. PlayStation, not so much. There are simply some headsets and controllers that will not work, period, because of the difference in drivers and operating system. And also, there is only one company currently that makes a premium paddle-style controller for the PlayStation 5 DualSense. That is AIM. They have a 10-week waiting period for them, and they are obviously rather expensive. You're generally looking at, depending on how you spec it out, about $300 to $350. It can go into the 400s if you're adding every goodie you possibly can, but you're looking at like a 10-week waiting period, and they are the only company that makes a paddle style controller that works with PlayStation 5 games. Next up would be backward compatibility on the PlayStation 5. So this isn't a huge deal, especially if you get a PS5 and you are strictly going to be playing next-gen experiences and whatnot. But if you do care about backward compatibility, this probably is not the console for you. Granted, almost every PS4 game that I have slid into the disc slot in the front, I have been able to play, but there is literally only a handful of games, like God of War, for example, that have gotten any kind of a frame rate buff or boost. And also, there are several titles, when I say several, I mean dozens, of PS4 games that actually run worse on the PlayStation 5 than they did on the PS4 Slim, which is super weird. And also, there is literally no compatibility with PlayStation 1 through 3. So technically, if you want to play the entire library of PlayStation home consoles, you need two consoles. You need the original PS3, the big glossy one, before they did the midlife refresh with the slim flat matte design. That one can play 1 through 3, and then you get a PlayStation 5, and you can play 4 and 5. So with just those two consoles in your entertainment center, you have access to the whole library of PlayStation games. All right, last but certainly not least, you can't find these bad boys. I've owned mine for about 3 months, but that was simply because I had access to base to the Navy Exchange, and they were in stock there. However, unless you want to pay scalper prices, they are very, very hard to come by. We're in the middle of a silicon shortage due to auto manufacturers and also electronics companies such as Nvidia, AMD, trying to get computers in people's hands because they're either working at home and need a more powerful computer to be able to video teleconference and whatnot. Plus, they're stuck at home, like I just mentioned, so they probably are gaming more. People are getting into streaming that have never even considered it before. So obviously there was a low amount of supply, high demand because we haven't seen a brand new console generation in 7.5 years. And then scalpers took advantage of this to start running bots and scripts to scoop them up in the dozens, hundreds, or even thousands, like the organization Crep Chief Notify over there in the United Kingdoms that had 3,500 units of PlayStation 5s. Yeah, they're very, very hard to come by. That's the biggest issue here. Again, another reason why these consoles should have waited about another year to drop. Just saying. So I want to finish this video out by saying I am not bitching or complaining about the console. I absolutely love it. I am glad that I own the PlayStation 5. I play it daily. I absolutely love it. But those are some issues that I have with it personally that have been rather unsavory and haven't really added to the enjoyment of my experience of the last 3 months. Drop in the comment section below your guys' experience with the PS5, your personal issues or problems that you have encountered, or if you have not been able to get your hands on one of these bad boys and you've been trying left and right to lock one in. If you enjoyed the video, tickling the YouTube algorithm, kind of touching Google's prostate, helps the video to get seen by more people, which in turn helps me grow this little channel, which I do greatly appreciate. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover a ton of news in the gaming community and industry, as well as tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.